does know that that's the case, not because I'm there to take away things from him,
Yeah.
but so that they know that they have a resource to go back to. So when you ask me what I've done absolutely nothing. The only thing is to empower people who are smart, intelligent, able, capable to do what they have to do. When I went to university, I went with the same mindset that existed at least in those days, in this part of the world, which is to micromanage.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm the boss, I know everything, you don't know anything. In university, they taught us there was theory X manager. And then the other side is the theory Y manager who has this laissez-faire concept. No, 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 everyone knows everything and I don't need to handle anything. Neither of them is correct. You have to give people the opportunity to do things. You know what? When people micromanage, they're afraid. And they are a child. And they're afraid that the other person is going to be better than they are. When you remove your hand and allow the person to be an adult, to take responsibility. I want to give you authority, but the authority comes with responsibility. A lot of people here just want the authority and do not want the responsibility whatsoever. When things go pear-shaped, what's the first thing they do? They find a scapegoat. They never raise their hand and say, oh, I did it. It was my mistake. And it's not wrong. I want to be able to say, I made a mistake, because we all make mistakes. Last I checked, I'm neither an angel nor anything of that within that realm. I will make mistakes. I have to make mistakes because that's how I learn. The idea of micromanaging was what was in my head. And I went to university. And my professor, it was a course in operational management or something along those lines. Again, it's been a while. And the professor was talking about the different, again, theory X manager and theory Y manager, and if you just stretch a band, it's going from a authoritative person to a to a democratic person. And in between that, there's something called a consultative person, a consultative manager. A consultative manager says, I will sit and listen to everyone, and then I will make a decision, because I need people to buy into what I'm doing. It allows other people to also take responsibility for what they're going to do. But you also have to reward the person who's done well. And a lot of people in this part of the world that I've experienced do not like rewarding people who've done well. They look at them as a threat, which is a sad thing.
Mm. How many micromanagers do we have in this room?
I'd like to see that one, by the way.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Only one person has admitted he's a micromanager. Thank you very much for that, sir. But obviously, everybody is very, very open and democratic and consultative here, which is good.
What does it mean when you micromanage yourself?
I beg your pardon?
What does it mean when you micromanage yourself?
Then you're a self-micromanager.
I believe it's called compulsive, what do you call it?
Obsessive compulsive, OCD,
compulsive,
yes, OCD. Mishal, you've become a world-famous speaker. I mean, the Speakers Bureau keep chasing you and so on. And you're an expert in family business. Or at least that's what I found out. And perhaps you learned a lot of your things, navigating through the jungle, the family jungle, so to speak. And one of the things you talk about are the 7 deadly sins of family companies: sibling rivalry, despotism,
nepotism,
despotism, the whole thing. So, what are the 7 deadly sins?
Well, you're doing a test because I can't remember them off the top of my head.
Give us lots of sins. Well, sibling rivalry is one of them.
But if you're talking about a family business, there are many issues that most people will encounter within a family business. I think the biggest problem in family business is succession planning.
I was going to say that, yeah.
And most likely, it's a plan to fail. There's no succession planning. I know some of my managers have heard me already say this, so it'll be a repetition for them. But most families do plan to fail, and they go along the lines. Within the Islamic, by the way, within the Islamic society, and we go by the Sharia. I'm thinking, at least for us, God has talked about the ownership, not management. I know who's going to own what, but not necessarily who's going to manage it. I also need to understand, as a family, am I prepared to go by what I want or by what is needed? What I want is my son to like Liverpool Football Club. Chances are he won't. Now, I can force him into that. But is that the right thing to do? In my mind, I'm thinking, yes, it is. But the reality is, no, it's not. I also need to understand, when it comes to succession planning, I shouldn't plan to have someone succeed me who's going to fit my mindset, but rather what they will need in the future. People, by the way, one of the things, you can, outside of the Islamic world, and I say that because of the Sharia not allowing that to happen, but do you know that you can actually rule from the grave? You can, in family businesses, rule from the grave. And it's very simple. You create a trust, and in that trust you put so many conditions that person X will never have a chance in hell of ever managing that business. Or you make it so, he or she has to reach 35 years old. He or she has got to be married to a person from this family. He or she has got to have 3 children. And you list them. And you make it as hard as possible. Or none of the family members will ever sell outside of the family. Okay? The family will never go public. Again, you're putting so many restrictions. This might work in your lifetime. That's fantastic. You can put this in trust. You can do it in perpetuity. So it can go on forever. Now, what are you doing? You're trying to take your mindset and put it in someone else. Here's a thought, by the way.
Is this what's slowing down this region because there's no succession planning and the patriarchs?
It's not a regional thing. It's a global thing.
It's a global thing, absolutely.
In family businesses, it's a global thing. Yeah. I was speaking about this in terms of understanding what are regional versus global. I thought there were a lot of things that are very specific to this part of the world. And as I interacted with different family business conferences, I started to realize, oh, no, it's not. A case in point, I was with a few cousins of mine, and we went to a family business conference, and there were a few other Arabs with me. One was from Oman, and the other one was from Kuwait. And the in-law of the owner of the New York Times, Salisbury, I think is the name of the family, was sitting and talking, the in-law was talking on behalf of the family. Now, we're all thinking and giggling, no way in hell that will happen in our part of the world, where the in-law will talk on behalf of the family. That's a no-no. And I thought, perhaps this is just, within our lifestyle. Our area, the part of the world. And after the person finished, a woman from Finland, of all places, stood up and said, in Finnish society, we will never accept the in-law coming and talking on behalf of the family. So I started to realize, oh my God, this is something that's, it's quite interesting to see that these family issues are global. When we start talking about succession planning, that's one issue, and it's a significant issue. But you start talking about other issues that are also major issues. When we start talking, in the past they used to say it was conflict resolution. Now in family business conferences, it's conflict management. And the reason it's conflict management is because as long as people are humans, they will always fight. And you can lower the tone of the fight, or you can raise the tone of the fight. But the fight's always going to be there. It'll simmer in the background. It will be hidden, but it'll always be there. One thing that I will say, by the way, there's 2 distinguishing things in, not necessarily in family businesses, but in business as a whole. The world, in my mind, is split into 2 different categories. The one category is the North European, which would also include, it would include countries like Scandinavia, the Benelux countries, the UK, the different Saxon world. And I'd throw in Hong Kong and Singapore in there. Those are one category. And then the rest of the world. The first category are an exceptionally impolite society. And the other rest of the world are a very polite society. Now, superficially, what I've said is insulting to the North Europeans, or North European extract, and very nicely said for the non-European, when I say Europeans, I'm trying to categorize it, because not all of Europe falls under that. I mean, I'm sure Greece and what you call Greece and Portugal and southern Italy and Spain would not fall under that. France is a very, very strange creature. I'm not sure what I put that one on. They are a polite society. Now, what does that mean? In an impolite society, I can actually tell you what I think without having a lot of negative repercussions. So therefore, I can tell you and we can interact to a certain degree. We put the little circles, and where these little circles interact, that's an open area we can talk and interact, and outside of the circles, we don't have to interact. But in a polite society, so in an impolite society, I can tell you, you know what, I really don't like you. I'm being, again, taking it to an extreme. But I really don't like you, you don't like me, we don't have to like each other, but within the sphere of working, we work together. End of subject, fine. You know, everyone knows what his position is and where his borders are. In a polite society, I will never tell you that I don't like you. I will never tell you I can't stand you. I'll never tell you any of the things that you need to know, because you can't interact with, I can't tell you that, because socially it's unacceptable. So therefore, I don't know where your borders are, and you don't know where my borders are. So therefore, I will always say, and you hear this a lot, I don't know in the Indian subcontinent, how would you phrase this, but, and when we do that, what causes people a major problem is, I don't know what you're thinking, and I'm guessing. And the best, again, this happened to me in university, and I had an exceptionally, I thought he was an annoying professor at the time, but now I really appreciate what he taught me. And it was a simple exercise. He took the class, and he put us on tables, and there were two people looking at each other. And he said, the first one is going to think of something. And the other person is going to focus on what the other person is thinking. You know, for 5 minutes, and 20-something-year-old, 19 to 18, 19-year-old, we all think it's, it's funny and giggling as hell. And then after the exercise of 5 minutes, he said, all right, the one who was supposed to know or think what the other person was thinking, tell me, what did that other person say? Or what was the other person thinking of? And of course, everyone's laughing, ha ha ha, and they're throwing out stupid things. And then when everything quiets down, he said, and that's the point. You don't know what other people think. You need to talk, to communicate. But how can I communicate with you if I have that border in the first place?
Mishal is a very prolific writer, columnist, and
until they censored me.
And so did you get blocked? But and he's also known for his provocative points of view on things that a lot of people are actually quite scared of. So I've kindly got his permission to touch upon some of these areas which a lot of people
I'm dying to hear what they're going to be.
Well, I haven't given you all the secrets. Mishal, do you feel that discrimination of any kind is allowed, I mean, is okay? And I'm leading on to something. Any kind of discrimination, whether it could be based on sex, gender, nationality, caste,
sex and gender
creed.
is the same thing, isn't it?
Well,
unless you talk about different type of things.
Actually, it depends.
Yes, I agree. You should be able to discriminate against Manchester United fans. I think that's a perfectly legitimate position.
So what I'm getting to is positive discrimination towards anything, whether it's positive discrimination towards women, and there should be more women in something, or there should be positive discrimination towards...
Is my wife going to hear this? Because if she is, I will start doing self-censorship here.
Okay.
I personally think the more women on boards, the better.
Yeah, it's much more fun.
Oh God,
you get
yes.
the soft side, you get all of those good things.
If, in all honesty, I think you should not discriminate either positively or negatively. I think you take a person on the merit of his or her merit as his or her ability. There are reasons you want to have, and by the way, one of the things that most people don't understand in family businesses and in other businesses and within family circles, the most influential person is always going to be the mother. Always. Because unlike the father who tells you how things are, the mother sits and listens to you. Well, most of the time anyway. There are some mothers who would not listen to you. And you need to be able to understand that aspect. So, in terms of discrimination, would I discriminate against a person for his or her gender? Me personally? Not really. Would I for the religion? Not really. For the race? Not really. For the political, what do you call it, ideology? Not really. For the belief system? Not really. I wouldn't. Me. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about anyone else.
I'm talking about you.
Right?
Yeah.
I would not. There is one thing I would discriminate against,
right.
And that is stupidity.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When a person, now, let me be clear. When a person makes a mistake, mistakes happen. That's fine. When a person commits the same mistake a second time, the exact same mistake a second time, you're going, perhaps it happens. But when he does it habitually, I'm sorry, that person's stupid. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I have a really hard time respecting a person who can do the same mistake infinitum. And then come and say, well, you know, it happened. I'm like, no, it didn't. You made it happen again and again. You've done it to yourself. When we had the case of the property, and I don't know how many of you here bought property in Dubai, in 2008. If you did, I wouldn't raise my hands, because that would be embarrassing. But for those people who bought property in 2008, thinking it's going to go up higher, here's the question you should be asking yourself. If there is a wall on the road, and I'm driving my car really fast, what are the chances I'm going to survive the crash? You could, but what are the chances? Do I blame the wall? Do I blame the car? Do I blame the sky because it was nice and bright and sunny? Or do I blame my stupidity for stepping on the accelerator and not seeing what was obvious? And it was too obvious. It was just too obvious. And I'm sad to tell you, I'm starting to see the signs happening again.
Indeed, and actually, just for the record, Mishal in 2008, he was interviewed by Piers Morgan, and I believe that's where he spoke about the bubble in Dubai and the fact that it might crash. And at that time, you got attacked for being unpatriotic and you know, where the hell are you in your thinking? But he was actually one of the very, very few people who actually went against the grain at that time. So that's part of his sort of learning and understanding. Because I think it's important to be able to go the other way.
I don't like to cause controversy just for the sake of it, although my family members might disagree. I will state what I think is in front of me. Now, I'm always open to be corrected as long as you can show me where I'm going wrong. The problem is when something is too glaringly, obviously wrong, and no one wants to see it. You're then thought of as a guru. And for the love of God, I can tell you I'm not. I'm not a soothsayer, I'm not a sage that can see into the future. I'm not. But when you see something that is too obvious and you know what's going to happen, as I said, in the case of the car, it really doesn't take a genius to figure out that that car is going to go to the wall and something nasty is going to happen to the driver. But if you don't have the courage to say it, should I hold you, if I was in that position and I'm going there, if I crash, should I hold you accountable for seeing all of this and shutting up? You saw it. You paid attention. You were looking at it. By the way, one of the worst adverts I ever saw, and please God let him not be here because I really would be embarrassed if that was the case. But on the 20th of December 2008, in the height of all of this happening, a property developer, I won't mention his name, a property developer took out a huge advert in the back pages of the national newspaper, the business section. And it said that his project was the best project ever. Sorry, no, that was the second one. The first one was, what, crash? What crash? No, it stuck in my head. And I'm thinking, flip the paper around. It was talking about the financial market crashing. It was talking about people not being able to sell. I'm thinking, am I a genius or are you just stupid? Which one is it? I have no idea. And just not to be outdone by himself, he found a way to overcome his stupidity by being even more stupid and taking another advert in the 25th of December. Unfortunately, one of the things I actually do is keep these clippings because they're fun. They're hard to come across when people, people do such stupid things. We want to keep it for posterity so that you can show people in the future, look, there actually were stupid people like this. He came up with another advertising saying, my project is the best project in real estate ever. I'm thinking, are you nuts? Are you the only one who sees your vision? Or are you having a vision? Which one is it? I'm not quite sure. And if it is, could I have the same drink you're having? Because I'd like to see that vision. I don't see it. Now, when you have situations like this, it really doesn't take a genius. But the problem is, what is my responsibility to everyone else? To shut up or to talk? And if I'm going to talk, am I ready for the criticism I'm going to get? Because I will get it. But should that shut me up?
Moving on from that, I mean, I think the earlier point on discrimination, I was also going to talk about emeritization and nationalization versus meritocracy. Where do you stand on that? Because if we continue with that, this place is going to end up with some kind of apartheid where a few people manage the rest, and the few people will become like Aborigines or Red Indian Americans. So where are we going on this one?
Shall I call the police and go with them?
Here we go.
No, not you, me.
No, me.
I answered that question.
I asked the question, so I'm throwing the bomb inside.
It's a very simple thing. I want people to win their jobs not as a charity, but because they deserve it. The same thing I would also say for those people who say, a minority should get jobs, a gender should get jobs. No, but I'm saying if I do that, it says that these people are incapable unless I create something for them. Is that what you want? How many people in their businesses want to have people who are, irrespective of where they're from, irrespective of their gender, how many people want to have people who are charity cases in their organization? I want people in my organization, whichever nationality they're from, to be the best that they are, and for us as an organization to help them raise their game, not lower their game. I don't want anyone at any point to think this was a charity, what do you call it? It was a pity vote, if you want, or if it was a pity job. I don't want that.
Pity job.
But that's what it is.
Yeah.
I want to ensure that when people, now, there are people who go out of their way to ensure that they keep within their little sphere and will not hire anyone outside of their little clique.
Yeah.
That could be different cliques,
yes,
but they will go out of their way to block others. That needs to stop.
Yeah.
But that's a top-down issue. Management having to make these decisions. You have a good HR, you have a good board, you have a good CEO, you manage this thing without having to allow people. When I want the person who comes and works in my bank, comes and works in my company, comes and works in my insurance company, comes and works in any of my organization, I want him or her to be the best that he or she can be, or at least starting there. And I want to make sure that they know that they were there because they were good at what they were doing. or good at what they're doing, and hopefully be better under the organization's tenure and move.
Right. Now, moving on, one of the businesses that that Kanoo Group runs is airline and travel and holidays. What is your take on this mushrooming of hundreds of airlines and all of them reporting amazing profits? And
you really wanted me to go to jail today.
It just doesn't add up, does it?
Listen, as long as I don't get the chance to see the financials,
yes,
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
If they come and tell me they've done well, I accept they've done well. I have no idea. As any business, unless I have the financials and the notes to go with the financials,
right.
it makes no sense for me to even talk about it.